Every city he would go to, there would be great honoring that they would do of Al-Bukhari. Sometimes, and in some, some of the books have it as well, that in some places they would go, they would start throwing, musk at him, and they would start throwing flowers at him, basically greeting him in that way, right? So one of the cities he went to, the scholars of that city, they gathered together. They'd heard about this legendary memory of Al-Bukhari. So they went there to Al-Bukhari and they said to him that we've got all these scholars gathered and we've got some questions to ask you. So what they'd done is they'd taken 100 ahadith, and these 100 ahadith, they had flipped and flopped the chains and the actual text of the hadith. Okay? So you had a text, and then you have the chain. You know how hadith works. There's a chain. حدثنا حدثنا حدثنا. XYZ said, that XYZ said, that XYZ said, that the Prophet ﷺ said. Right? So these are the chains. And then you have the text of the hadith, the body of the hadith. So they would take the body from here, and they would take the isnad or the chain from another hadith. And they would mix and match like this until the hadith became all mixed up. Then they got 10 people, and they gave them all the hadith, and they said, when Bukhari comes, we sit him down, you tell him each one of the hadith. So they came to him, they sat before him. All of the scholars of Baghdad are over here. They're all laymen here too, by the way. Because everybody's heard of Bukhari. Bukhari is this legendary human being at this point. So there are scholars there. There are fuqaha there. There are potentially politicians there as well. There are people who happen to be just general masses as well. Meaning they are people who love knowledge, but they don't have knowledge. They can't really be the ones testing. You understand? So they said all of these hadiths to Bukhari. Every hadith he would say, La a'rifu. I don't know this hadith. Then after all of the 100 hadith are done, Bukhari turns to the first person and he says, the first hadith you said it like this, and the correct hadith is this. Then he said, the second hadith you said it like this, and the correct hadith is this. The third hadith, he said, you said it like this, and the correct hadith is this. And he went on through tester number 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 10, all 100 hadith. He brought the original hadith, and he brought that mixed up version of it as well. So the scholars, they said that, obviously everybody knows Bukhari knows the hadith. So the shocking thing is not that Bukhari knew the hadith. The shocking thing is that he heard the hadith one time in a mixed way, memorized it, and recollected it in the order as well. And then he went back to the right people, told them that the wrong one that you recited is like this and the correct one is this way. Because everybody already knew that he knows the correct hadith. This is Bukhari. So much so that one of the scholars of hadith, he himself is a scholar. His students, they went to Al-Bukhari and they said that our teacher told us this. Do you know this hadith? Bukhari said, no, I don't know this hadith. These students became so happy. Because they said, we got him. Finally. There's something he doesn't know. So they went back to his teacher, and when they got back to his teacher, their teacher, they said that we went to Bukhari and we told them this hadith, and Bukhari said he doesn't know this hadith. He said, a hadith that Bukhari doesn't know is not a hadith. The teacher himself started doubting himself. And he said, a hadith that Bukhari doesn't know is not a hadith.